Hello? Hello? Hi. Okay. Hindi, may hangin nga. Hangin lang yan, okay lang yan. Wait lang. Oh, okay, game. Tapos kaglas. Ito. Si Brackeys. Variables. Tapos ng variables. Ito yung last. Ano ba to? Ah. Laka. Dami talagang error. Ano ba to? Please open folder. Hindi, ewan ko sa'yo. Please open a file. Paano ba yun? Please open. Ano ba to? Ang complicated naman yan, no? Ni C#. Siya ganun kadali.
Hey guys, in this tutorial, so to the file option on the main navigation bar, I've open a folder called Apple. You can simply create any folder or drop on the open folder. As soon as you know, VS Code will automatically navigate to your on the command, which is the PI extension, but Python doesn't really care, and it will still launch the file successfully executed. So guys, basically I know that this is a very simple tutorial in this file here, and we'll print out a simple message. On the command line in terminal, type py, which is the py launcher, and then type the name of the file with your program.
At sa akin, hindi walang terminal eh. This way. Please open a folder with solution debug. Hindi ko gets. Ano ba to?
Now, ideally, it should have been an index.py or the file as a Python program. Now, go ahead and hit enter. You'll see that our Python program, this is a very simple.
What's up, everybody? It's Travis here from Travis.media. Today I'm in the studio at Microsoft.com. Confirm that that's installed. Tell you what version you're using. I'm on 5.0.2 and look for .NET 5.0. Just click this download version you're using at or code.cs. In that program.cs file, you should have a hello world. taking a minute to get loaded. So if I open my VS Code console, and you can learn C# with. I want to debug it. I want to add the VS Code command palette. That's here to the menu and pick it. But what you want to type is .NET. If you go to extensions, type in extension. It's whatever the official, and type in .NET, and you want to look, and it's going to generate this folder. Now points.
Okay. Kailangan ko i-open yung buong file every time. Nangyari. Wala, nangyari. Ayaw niya mag-run. May kailangan aralin yung VS Code mismo. Hindi ko alam paano gamitin ang VS Code sa C#. Sa Python, nadali ako sa Python. Anong problema? Pagdating sa C#, ang hirap niyang gamitin. Ewan bakit. Ayun yung mag-run. Fuck. Ganun.
Or whatever I want to do. Console.WriteLine, debug mode. And all of my, back to my files.
Like, hindi, ang hirap niyang gamitin. Sobra. Bakit? Oh. Getter. Oh, ayun yung code. Ayaw mag-run. Oh my god. Wait lang, gagawa mo na akong GitHub account. Ano ba gawa ng GitHub account? Ano ba to? Okay. Okay. Doon, meron akong GitHub. Ayos naman, tama naman. Nangyari. Ito talaga magets to. Pwede pa ako gumamit ng ibang environment na lang. Like, ano mo pwede. Ang hirap kasi talaga gamitin ng VS Code eh. Ang daming error sa akin eh. Oh, request text. Ano ba? Paano ba i-run to properly? Ano namang tutorial na maayos kasi puro mga outdated yung tutorial. Iba na may tsura ng VS Code ngayon.
What's up, everybody? It's Travis here from Travis.media.
You can build anything from its super optimized doc. Now this documentation will show for C#. So here I can say C# and really get a few different pop-ups. Let's just go ahead and close these for now. Use the C# dev kit with my Visual Studio subscription, including the free community edition.
Wait, may bayad yun?
So I can click that connect button, or here I can click the sign in with Microsoft to use C# dev kit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to need to install it. Installed already, and check that there. It has opened up here, and I'm going to get a few different pop-ups. Let's just go down and get full screen. So the first thing here is that I can link my Microsoft account to use the C# dev kit with my to use C# dev kit. So I'm going to go ahead and sign in really quick. All right, so I am signed in. I'm going to head back over to VS Code, and I am good to go, and I'm going to go ahead and check that there. Then it's going to say split. So no matter where you're developing, you can find installer button, and this is going to give me the download link over here for my version. But of course, .NET is available everywhere. So no version of the .NET is that.
Di ako ng .NET, wala ba ako nun?
APIs, sounds good. Select new terminal, and I can go ahead and start to execute and version info list for search, and this is going to show me or you have your traditional file explorer that's part of this up top, project and solution view. I get my properties going on here. Aspire, that's going to go off and if I go off and show me all of the Aspire packages that I could install into my app. Now this application here will show me that it's going to go off and create a weather forecast API for me. And from here, I could come into the terminal and I could do .NET Run as well, so that'd be great. Or I can start to add some breakpoints into the application, go to the debug window, and I'm going to say Run and Debug and select C#. And here it's going to ask me what configuration do I want. So I can select the default configuration, HTTP or HTTPS. Let's just do the default configuration. And let's go ahead and have it build my application and then debug it locally on my machine. So this is really nice because in just a few minutes, I have a full application that is ready to go to start building APIs. And I'm debugging it as well. So I get all my threads, stack traces, and here I get a full swagger. So I can click on the try it out. I can click execute. And this is going to go back over into VS Code, and I have a breakpoint here. This is going to show me my summary. It's going to show me everything that was generated, and I can step through over here. Example, I could.
That's too much, man. But that's too much.
right click and I can say go to definition, and it's going to navigate.
This is too much, bro. That's too much. I'm not sure beginner.
You need Visual Studio. It's so expensive.
Divide bit.
You need developing C# in Visual Studio. All the C# thing we need to develop C# account, install the .NET SDK and create new .NET projects. You can use the .NET version command to see if you already
Try.
projects. You can use the .NET version command to see if you already have a .NET SDK installed.
Meron.
Otherwise, make sure to install the current version. We can use the Ctrl-Shift-P shortcut to open the command palette. Including the C# DevKit extension added new commands, including the .NET New Project command. We use it and select the console application project type. If you haven't opened a directory, Visual Studio Code will ask you where it should create a project. We can also provide a project name. The extension including a program.cs file and a solution file.
Okay.
In the program.cs file,
Oh. 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 Baka nga yung reason. Bakit hindi nag-run yung CS kasi stand-alone CS file lang nagawa ko. Hindi siya isang buong, I don't know.
change the code from Hello World to Hello from Visual Studio Code. We open a terminal and change directories into the project change name. In the program.cs file, we change the code from Hello World to Hello from Visual Studio Code.
Okay.
We open a terminal and change directories into the project folder. Next, we use the .NET Run command to execute the console application. As you can see, the text Hello from Visual Studio Code appears in the output. Let's quickly extend the example. I define an int variable named age and assign 32. Next, I print the value to the console. I click on the left of the row number to set a breakpoint.
What the fuck is that?
Next, I open the Run and Debug menu, press the Show All Automatic Debug Configurations, and select the console application. The user interface changes, and we can use the green Run button to launch the application with a debugger attached. We can navigate the code using the visual overlay or using keyboard shortcuts. The context menu provides us with different options. For example, we can use the Find All References command. We can also use different shortcuts such as F2 to rename a variable in the whole code file.
Okay.
The C# DevKit provides many helpful features that enhance the developer experience. If you want even more help, you can install the GitHub Copilot extension, which is also available for Visual Studio Code. C# DevKit extension. For example, we can use the try snippet to generate a try-catch code block. There are additional snippets to create classes, constructors, properties, and much more. We can use the Ctrl-T shortcut and search for code symbols. For example, we can jump to classes, properties, or different code files. It's great for a simple tutorial, but does it also work for production use cases? Well, let's create a Blazor server application using the command palette.
May mga pre-built na siya.
Visual Studio Code generated a whole Blazor server application for us.
So pre-built
We
na.
can compile and run the web application using the .NET Run command. Let's make a few changes to the code. As you can see right now, they are not reflected in the browser.
Meron na siyang pre-built.
Let's stop the application and use the .NET Watch command instead. It will launch the web application in the browser again, but this time when I change the code in any Blazor component and save the file, the changes are instantly reflected. Pretty cool, right?
Wait, what?
As you can see right now, they are not reflected in the browser. Let's stop the application and use the .NET watch command instead.
Watch.
It will launch the web application in the browser again, but this time, when I change the code in any Blazor component and save the file, the changes are instantly reflected.
Okay.
Pretty cool, right? As demonstrated, we can use Visual Studio Code to project and navigate the source code. If you found any value in watching this video, please hit the like button and
That's great. So, hindi pala pwede to. Ano nga ako eh. Oh. And alam natin how to make C#.
Let's see how we can and click on install. This message then install the version project bar here. So what I can do is I can open code as you can see here. So if I refresh this, and as you can see this command dot
Excuse me.
net new console, hit enter, and if I scroll this here, okay, let's close this, let's refresh this, and as you can see a new default CS file is created. Now let's open this project in Visual Studio Code. Terminal here, okay, code. If I double
Ang naalala ko lang ito eh. Yung this one. Command palette. Ito yun. Tapos yung project ko yun. Tapos console lang. Console. App. Ayun ah. Ito na, console app 1. Program. What? Oh! Oh my god. Oh my god, this game nga siya. Kailangan buong bin or buong file, malaking file yung kailangan mo. Oh, lucky. Hindi siya isang file lang, hindi siya isang dot text lang, isang buong file siya talaga.
click on this, as you can see this is
So basically ito na yan, console app 1. Let's say open natin to. Hindi, ito lang, hindi siya paggana. Kailangan mo, kunin mo yung ito mismo, ipunin mo yung file. Kasi hindi siya nag-show eh, bakit eh? Kasi kulang ata ito eh. Ayun, parang may kulang na file kasi iba-iba yun. Wala ka talagang laman yun. Awan. Si console up 1 naman, okay lang. Working siya. Yun, ganun lang. Gumagana siya. Okay.
Is this code?
Tuloy tayo. Wala pa akong ganito yung mga class. Wala, hindi ko ginagamit. Wala pa eh. Use top level statement. Ayun, wala ning main method. Hindi ko alam bakit eh. So, hindi ko talaga alam kung paano i-aralin to. Kasi, hindi na siya traditional. Capture code, suitable class, and entry points. Ayun. Pero mas maganda siguro aralin mo yung ano eh. Yung isa, yung may class program. Kita ba sa ano yung ano ko? Yung AI? Yes. Kaya nga eh. C# is resolved. Tama naman. Yeah, fuck that. So, okay lang naman. Kasi ano lang naman yun eh, parang inside text or something. Pero ayaw mo naman for araling mo ni fundamentals. Magkatanong ako sa mga professional or sa may alam paano gagawin yun.
So far, we've only made programs that would do the same thing every time. And while that is cool, programming doesn't start to get really interesting before we can have our program determine what to do next based on what we tell it. This is where the if statement comes in. If statements allow us to check for a condition and execute different code depending on...
Ba't nag-goodbye na si Vrakis? Ano to?
Hello, welcome to the first tutorial done by Brackeys.
Hello everyone. Hello
Daniel.
everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone. Hello everyone and welcome to this.
Wala na si Brakis.
Good dough.
Nandito pa siya eh. Nandito pa siya.
Hello, welcome.
Moving into an office. Traveling just gonna come right out and say it. This is our last video. Yeah, I know that sounds really dramatic and you probably have a bunch of questions, so I'm gonna do my best to answer them. Let's start with the why. First of all, I just want to be very clear that this decision does not come from a negative place. Nothing in particular has prompted us to stop, no one is mad at anyone or anything like that. The reason why is simply that it's time for us to move on to new things. Personally, I've been making YouTube videos on game development for almost my younger years, trying to make game developments and meeting developers from all over the world. But of course, all good things must come to an end. And while I'm in love with game development, and it's been amazing creating all this content over the years, I just checked, we've made like 460 videos. Well, personally, I'm gonna be taking a break from the game development space. Maybe pursue some personal projects or learn some new skills, maybe get a bit more time for family. For Brackeys, this means that we will no longer be putting out new content. Will there ever be new videos again? Who knows? But we don't have anything planned. And all of our other downloadable content. The only thing that we'll be taking down is the Patreon page. So a incredible community that has evolved around it. It's truly been incredible watching a community come to life, the last running it on a day-to-day basis. I'll also be checking in once in a while to make sure that everything is running smoothly and to say hi, but honestly, the Discord staff have already been running it independently Twitter for those kinds of announcements, and I'll also make a CEST.
Sayang nag-quit siya in 2020.
And will questions and participating deserve all the praise you can get. Sam Saiku and Andre to Jesper for writing entertaining and educational videos and for being a pleasure to be around. To Thea for persevering through looking at my face through endless editing sessions and for being a most valued friend. To Andreas for being my partner in crime these last years, for running the company, for showing me the way when I do the outro. Thanks for watching. Is it
He's back. Oh, si Danny. Akala ko nawala si Danny. Ba't nandito na siya? Napakagaling nito ni Danny Devman. Ano ako mag-code on games. Wala siya 3 years ago. Hindi na siya nag-upload after that. Ito ako nakaunang tikim ng paano mag-game dev code some things. Pero siya nagbalik, you know? Boy pa pala si Danny. 1 year ago.
Been a while. I hope you've all been well.
Damn.
And to be honest, I wasn't really planning on making any new videos anytime soon. I think for a while that some of the harsh realities of the video game industry had taken away some of the joy that I used to feel when making games. From the lack of unionization in AAA to the real challenge of keeping an indie game studio afloat, I think there's an ever-increasing pressure on developers. As someone who started in the game dev space very young with simple and probably naive ideas of what it means to make video games, these realities simply took it out of me for a while. But recently that changed a bit. Not because I discovered some cure that will magically make these issues disappear again. In fact, you could say that it's been a game changer, pun intended, and I know that a lot of you feel the same. I'm of course talking about open source. Let me explain. I've long been a huge fan of Blender. If you don't know, Blender is an incredibly powerful and now very popular 3D graphics tool. It has capabilities in modeling, sculpting, UV mapping, hugely powerful rendering, and the list just goes on. And the thing about Blender is that it's 100% free.
Yes.
Professionals as well. But how can something that is free ever compete with a hugely complicated software suite that costs thousands of dollars in subscription fees? Well, at least part of the answer is that Blender is what we call free and open source software, also known as FOSS.
This means that instead of a company owning and controlling the software with a private code base, the software is publicly
Community.
owned and has a public and open code base that anyone can access and contribute to. Of this is that it helps ensure that the software development is driven by the needs of the people who use it.
Yeah.
It's a hugely democratic way of organizing development. On top of this, open source makes it possible to utilize volunteer work and donations to fund
Yeah.
development. This means that the software is free from ties to any single entity and makes it possible for anyone to use it without having to pay subscription fees or owing away part of their revenue. And open source is actually not as niche as you might think. Linux, for example, went from a small hobbyist tool in the early 90s to powering enterprise server systems. Also, so many of the completely mainstream products of our time are built on top of Linux, such as software for cars, televisions, and all Android phones. It
Yes.
also powers most of the internet and the world's stock exchanges. So open source is already looking back, it feels like the industry was as well. And
Wala lahat may bayad dyan.
just the past decade, third-party engines like Unity and Unreal have become huge and industry standard. A big difference from before, where game studios would develop and use their own in-house engines.
Yeah.
Also, indie development has gone from something that very few people even knew about to a huge community where hobbyists and professionals alike
Yeah.
publish successful game titles, largely because of how accessible these third-party engines have become. And the game industry as a whole has become the largest entertainment industry in the world, far surpassing music and movies put together. Now this is a lot of change, and not in a lot of time. And while huge growth like this of course creates issues, I think it's important to
Hold up.
remember that it also brings a lot of positives. Perhaps most importantly, making games has never been more accessible than it is now. And also, large open source projects like a modern game engine require a lot of manpower to develop, something that wouldn't have been possible with the small game dev communities of just 10 years ago. In fact, just before taking a break from game dev, I was aware of a few open source initiatives, but I didn't think that they were viable alternatives to commercial engines. But holy wow, a lot has happened since to convince me otherwise. And huge props to the game dev community for making that happen. First of all, a bunch of new engines have popped up. And just like with Blender, previously niche software is starting to gain massive followings, with many contributing their time and donating to hire full-time developers. The largest example of this being Godot. Godot is a free and fully open source game engine that a lot of developers have recently turned to. And the timing really couldn't be better for this. Godot has actually been around for a while, but in March last year, Godot 4 was released, which was a huge rewrite of the engine, in my eyes making it a great choice for a lot of game projects. And of course, Godot is now riding on a wave of new users. Developers, and a huge influx of donations to the Godot Development Fund. I've been toying around with it for the past few months and I've been, well, loving it. While many parts of the engine of course have a ways to go, it is overall much further than I was expecting. And perhaps more importantly for me, it forced me to learn new things and reminded me of why I fell in love with making games in the first place. Now, as for the title of this video, I'm of course in no position to predict the future of the huge industry that now is game development. But I do think that part of making that future the best that it can be is to realize just that. Game development is huge now. And while this of course brings a lot of negatives, it also means that there are more game developers than ever before, who all share a love for the same thing. And that perhaps a part of this future is software that is open source, democratically owned and community funded. Now I want to be totally clear here. I'm by no means encouraging you to stop using third-party engines like Unity, Unreal or GameMaker. Nor am I saying that you should all use Godot, or any other open source engine for that matter. I've been using Unity for many years and made well over 400 videos on it, so it's safe to say that I like the software. In the end, a game engine is a tool, and you have to use the tool that is right for you and your project. All I hope to do with this video is to inform you that there are many engines out there, and hopefully to inspire you to think of the possibilities. Founders of the Godot engine, Juan Denetsky, gave a talk titled Godot as an Open Ecosystem, with a lot of sharp observations about open source in the game dev industry. It goes into detail about how open source can be beneficial for the industry as a whole, and I highly recommend you check it out. So, in the spirit of things are a bit different, we aren't in an office. In fact, we're recording this from our home. I, with the help of Sophia, have done our best to create a couple of videos on the most essential parts of Godot. The first video will be a mega tutorial on making your very first game in Godot and should be out next week. The second one will be a complete overview of the GD script language and will be out within a month. We really can't wait to share them with you. And we thought that since so many things are different this time around, we might as well try something new. So, the new videos will be in Danish. Hej alle sammen, og velkommen til vores første video om Godot. I den her video skal vi se på de mange Ja, hvad så? Ja, jeg synes, det virker meget godt.
Jeg tror lige, jeg synes, vi skal bare tage en på engelsk en gang.
På engelsk? Det gør vi. Hello everyone and welcome to our first video on Godot.
Tira yun naman. Oh, ginawa niya. Huh. Okay, man. Apat lang C#? Hanggang 7.
And if it's true or false. Say for example we want to create a quiz game. Here we need to check if the player's answers are correct. And we can of course do that using an if statement. In this case we could have the program ask something like, what's the best movie trilogy of all time? We could then collect some input from the player and check if it corresponds to the correct answer. If it does, and the user typed in Lord of the Rings, we can print out correct. If it doesn't, and the user typed in, well, anything else, we can print out incorrect and send them directly to the fiery depths of Mordor. So, into it, this video is sponsored by Dennis Sharp Masterclass. This class will make you super comfortable writing code in C# and using it for programming your own games in Unity. It will give you knowledge on many different aspects of C# and teach
Oh. Unity. Boo. Huh. Yung Godot. Ay. C#. Godot.
topics such as databases, Lincoln WPF, and much more. At the end of the course, you will even have made 3 games on your own. If this sounds like something, we want to parentheses, and then we open and close some curly brackets. Inside the parentheses, we put our condition. In other words, what we want to check for. In the case of our quiz game, we probably have some kind of player answer variable that holds whatever the player typed in. We can check if this is equal to Lord of the Rings. If it is, our condition is met and everything inside of the curly brackets will be executed. So in this case, we would print out correct. Of course, we often want to define what happens if the condition isn't met. If this is the case,
Walang nested.
we use an if-else statement. This is as simple as writing else at the bottom, followed by 2 curly brackets where we can put what we want to happen
Elif din kayo.
if the condition isn't met. In this case, we would print out incorrect and take them to Isengard. Murder! Now, we can use different symbols to create conditions. The double equals means is equal to, and an exclamation sign and an equal sign means is not equal. Is equal to, and an different sign and an equal sign means is not equal to.
Not
If
equal.
we're dealing with numbers, the greater than or less than signs can be used to check if a number is greater than or less than the other number. And if we put an equal sign after that, it means greater than or equal to,
Okay.
or less than or equal to. Of course, I don't expect you to remember this right away, so here's a table that you can look at if in doubt. And
Okay.
with that, let's write some code. So let's say that you're going to the cinema to watch a movie and you want to buy a ticket. Well, using if statements, we can create a program that allows you to do this. So let's first of all use Console.WriteLine to just print out something like insert cash. Then we can have the user insert some cash. In our case, let's store this in an integer. So we'll create an integer called cash and set it equal to Console.WriteLine. And remember, like we talked about in our last video on variables, we first have to convert this to an integer. So we'll use Convert.ToInt32 and wrap the parentheses around the read line.
Okay.
There we go. So we've now asked the user to input some cash, and the user can then type in a number, which is the amount of dollars they put in. What we can then do is use an if statement to do something based on how much they put in. So we make some new lines here and we write if, then parenthesis, and then we write the condition. In our case, we can check if cash is less than 5, because the ticket price is $5. Well, in this case, the user hasn't put in enough money. So we can go ahead and open and close some curly brackets. And I'm just going to put them down here on a separate line, so it's very clear that inside of these curly brackets is what is going to happen if this condition is true. And we can just put something in here like Console.WriteLine. That's not enough money. There we go. So if the user inputs less than $5, we're going to print out that that's not enough. And right away, if we run this program, we can see it says, welcome, tickets are $5, please insert cash.
Okay.
I'm going to type in 3 here, and it says that's not enough money. Awesome. But we of course also want to write what happens when the user inputs enough. For that, we can use an if-else. So right now we're saying if we input less than $5, do this. Then after that, we can write else. So in all other cases, and again, I'm going to put this on a separate line just to make it easier to read. So if the user inputs $5 or more, then we can write, here is your ticket, and print out a ticket for them. And again, if we run this program now, and we type in $5, it says, here's your ticket. Awesome. But if the user inputs more than $5, we want to give them their ticket as well as some change. So we actually need to add a separate condition for this. And we can do this using an else if. So if the user inputs less than $5, we write out that's not enough money. If not, then we can check. So else if cash is equal to 5.
As if.
So if the user inputs exactly $5, then we can write out here's your ticket. And if not, so we can put another else statement here. If not, well, then it's not less than $5 and it's not equal to $5, so it's more than $5. And here we can go ahead and calculate how much change we should give back to the user. So we could use a variable, call it change, and set it equal to the amount of cash that is put in minus 5.
Yung dalawa, else
Cash not enough money is equal to 5, and if not, so we can put another else statement here. If not, well then it's not less than $5 and it's not equal to $5, so it's more than $5. And here we can go ahead and calculate how much change we should give back to the user. So we could use a variable, call it change, and set it equal to the amount of cash that is put in minus 5, which is the ticket price. And so that's how much we want to give back.
Okay.
And so we can write out Console.WriteLine. Here is your ticket and then the change, dollars in change. There we go. So we basically have 3 different states here: less than $5, equal to $5, or more than $5. And we're using this by just chaining together if and else if statements.
Yep.
Really, really cool. And if we go ahead and run this now, we can see that if we input more than $5, so I'm going to put in, say, $8 here, it says, here's your ticket and $3 in change. Awesome. So that's a great way to start using if statements in your code to do different things depending on whether or not a condition is met. Let's have a look at another example. So imagine that we're at a theme park and we want to create a program that checks whether or not people are allowed to go onto a roller coaster. Well, in this case, we want to determine this based on the age and height of the user. So as you can see at the top here, I'm declaring 2 variables, an integer for the age and an integer for the height. So 2 simple numbers. I'm then asking the user to input their age and collecting it just like we did before. And after that, I ask the user to input their height in centimeters. And again, we collect that just like before. If I just quickly run this program, we can see that I can input an age, let's just do 24, and a height, let's just do 190. There we go. So we can now use if statements to determine if the user can enter the roller coaster based on these 2 variables. So just like before, we can create some lines.
Ano lang yan? If on 180 yata yun. If less than 180.
And so we can check if age is greater than or equal to 18. Well, then we can write out Console.WriteLine. You can enter. Notice how this time I'm just leaving the curly bracket up here. It does the exact same thing. If this is harder for you to read, feel free to put it on a separate line. But this is just shorter and kind of the standard practice these days. So now we're saying that anyone who is 18 or older can enter the roller coaster. But we also want to check if the person is tall enough. To do this, we could go in here and create another if statement inside the other one. So we could go
Ganun sila mag-nested ifs. Hindi sila pwedeng ganun. Matik eh. Okay.
if height is greater than or equal to, let's say, 160 centimeters, well, then the person can enter and then put this in here. This is called nesting because we're putting one if statement inside of another, but there's actually an easier way to do this. So instead of creating two if statements, we can just go up here and add another condition that needs to be met. To do that, we use two ampersand signs. This means and. So if age is greater than or equal to 18 and height is greater than or equal to 160, well, then this condition is met and we can go ahead and write you can enter. And if not, so we'll put an else here, Console.WriteLine, you don't meet the requirements. And if we try and run this, we need to put an age, let's say 22, that's old enough, and a height, and let's do something that isn't tall enough, so let's just input 140. And as you can see, it says you don't meet the requirements, because only one of the variables is correct. Whereas if we rerun the program and input 22 and then let's say 190, it says you can enter. And just like we can check whether both of these conditions are true, we can also check if just one of them is. That's the OR sign, or 2 vertical bars. So this means that the condition is met if either of these two are true. So if we're older than 18 or our height is greater than 160. So if we save that and run it now, we can input an age of 14, which is not old enough, and then a height which is large enough, so 180, we can see that it says you can enter, because now one of the conditions is met. So that's how you can work with multiple conditions. Are true, you can enter. And just like we can check whether both of these conditions are true, we can also check if just one of them is. That's the OR sign, or 2 vertical bars.
Or.
So that's enough. So that's how you can work with multiple conditions.
Okay.
Awesome. Now for the challenge before the next video, I would like you to create a program, kind of a game actually, where the player has to solve math problems. An example of this could be 10 times 2 plus 3. So the answer to this is of course 10 times 2, which is 20, plus 3, which is 23. And so you have to show the user a problem, have them input an answer, and if the answer is correct, you can tell the user that it's correct. If not, you have to tell them that it's wrong. So in my program here, I'm showing 15 plus 2 times 2. That's 15 plus 4, or 19, which is correct, and it tells me so. And then it actually gives me another problem. Let's say I get this answer wrong and say that's 12, which is wrong, and it shows that. And then there's a final one here, and I believe the answer to this is 6, which is correct. So I've just put in 3 problems here. You can put in as many as you want, but that is your challenge for the next video. So before we end, I just want to show you one quick thing, which is the switch statement.
Switch.
So here I have an example where I ask the user to input a number between 1 and 5. We then collect the number as we normally do, and then we want to do something based on what number was passed in. So we have all of these if statements here to check for the different cases. So if the number is 1, then we just write out 1 in the console. Else, if it's 2, we write out 2. If it's 3, we write out 3. The same with 4 and 5. And while this is totally valid and it should work, in fact, if we run our program and type in a number, I'm going to type in 3 here, we can see that it prints out 3. However, whenever we are dealing with a single variable that can have many different values and we want to do something based on the value, that is the perfect example of where a switch statement is really useful.
Okay.
So instead of writing this chain of if statements here, we can actually delete that and we can write switch. We then give it the variable that we want to check for. In my case here, I called that num, and then open and close some curly brackets. And inside of these, we can then create code for the different cases. So in the case that num here is 1, so case 1, and then a colon, and then underneath here, we put in what happens. So in our case, we want to write out Console.WriteLine 1. And we can put multiple lines of code here. We can do more stuff, or we could just end it here by typing break and then a semicolon. So that is the syntax. So we're basically saying that we want to switch based on the num variable. And in the case that it's 1, we go ahead and do something. In our case, we write out 1, and then we break. And we can do that for all of the different cases. So we could go case 2. So in the case that this number is 2, we write out 2 and then break. And we can keep going like this for all of the different numbers. So I'm just going to do that. So as you can see, while this works in the exact same way as before, and it takes up just about the same amount of space, it actually makes it much easier to tell what's going on. We're switching based on the num variable, and we can clearly see the different cases. And the cool thing about a switch is that we're not sure that we're going to pass in a value between 1 and 5. So we can actually put in a default case here, which is going to happen if none of these cases are met. So in this case, we could just write out Console.WriteLine default, and then again a break. And now if we run this program here, and if we type a value that isn't between 1 and 5, let's say 7, we can see it says default. So now for all other values that aren't added as a case here, it's just going to go to the default state. So that's a switch statement. There's really not more to it. You can choose if you want to use this or if statements. It's completely up to you. That's pretty much it for this.
mas malinis. Tingnan yung switch. Choice equals to case 1. Default break. Same lang. If else. If else. Basic. Same lang. Switch. Would you like to show me switch myself? Yes. Yep. Kaki. Iksi niya na lang. Try.
That is just
Video as we normally do, and then a colon.
Switch. Okay. Kaki na ano niya na ako. Do you want this also show like menu options lahat ay since you've gago alam niya. Since you've been coding coffee shop, gago alam niya. Paano niya alam yun? Gagi. Ba't alam niya? How did you know? Gago alam niya nga. Libre lang ba si Sora? Libre lang pala. May bayad siya. Akala ko libre lang yun. Pwede no. Libre lang pala yun. Break tayo. Nakakaano yun ah. Alam niya. Pag connect ko rin niya gagi. Okay. Coffee shop. Ayoko ng coffee shop niya. Ayoko niyan. Ah. Gawin ko to sa ano, sa Java. Ay, sa Java, sa C#. Iba naman. Ito na pwedeng ano. calculator na naman. May calculator na nga ako eh. Ito. Ay hindi, calculator pa lang pala yan. Ito ano gagawin to? Wala kang ano. Walang randomizer. Same na ata ng aral. Ano yan? Player 1, player 2. Okay, pwede to. Ganyan to. I-delete ko muna lahat para malinis. Dungis eh. Basta yun, console up 1 na lang. Ito palette. Ay hindi. Command palette. So wala. Wait lang. Sana. Wala ah. Sana. Hindi ko pa rin magets eh. Wait lang. Okay. SDK .NET command. Meron na ako niyan. Create new project. Open terminal. Control plus navigate. Kasi nag-add eh. Ganun lang eh. Command. Settings. Command palette. New project. Console. App lang. Enter. Directory. C# code. Ay. C# code now. Ano pa rin? Ayun. Console up 2. Ito Mag-run pa rin kaya to? Check, mag-run pa rin kaya to? Daka. Feeling ko may mali talaga sa savings ko. May save eh. Ayun, console up 1 po. Alam ko wala yun. Ano lang yun eh. Mali ito. Ito ang lap niya. 4 lang naman yan eh. Uy, yari. Hindi ko talaga may mali sa file system. Ewan ko nung mali dyan. Okay, kumana siya. Okay. Ba't ganun yan? Sharp code. Sige, ito pangalawa. May yung pala tayong directory. Sana nga. Ito na. Okay na ba? Hello world, okay na. 2 layer. Alam, yung unahan ako ng copilot. Unahan ako ng copilot eh, umay. Alam na yung copilot gagawin eh. Turn off yun.
Load
Okay.
go into your file, go into the preferences, settings, and in the search bar you have to type Copilot. Go here and change it from true to false. You have to click on this edit icon and click here, go into my file. Now you can see that
Settings, copilot. Off mo natin siya. Yan. Pwede naman gusto ko yun. Sakit sa mata. hindi. String lang. Okay lang, pwede na yun. So, that. Tama ba? Console.WriteLine. Ba yun, ginagamit dun. String ikaw lang ako eh. Anong mali? Ano ginawa ko? Hindi siya nagana. Saan yung error? Ano, may pula, alam ko. Ano niya?
Everyone. In this video, I will show you how exact line hunter. So terminal window and the problem set.
Ayun, problems. Yun pala. Ay. Mm. Okay. Ito. Ano ba to? New gets talaga yun, malabas na yun. Huh? Oh my god, new gets. Ano nangyayari? Ah. Oh my god. pa yan. I-run ko to sa web, visit ka. Ayun yun, tayo na, visit tayo na. Ito daw. Ayun yun, sira. Pangit yun. Wala. Anong key yun yung pang tanggal ng basura?
Variable is of type int. So we
Unang-una.
end our program from ending and the window from closing before we press a key first. That it just opens up a window that says hello world, and when we press a key, all we can here and going to run. Console in this case one prints indeed, or we can end it and see that the text right. Want to change the window kind of text? This. This is a method called main, and it's the place where we're going to put our code in. Out the words. Go ahead and run this program now by code here, curly bracket. Try and write some code here to make it more exciting. First of all, it closes. So let's try opens up a window that says
Sa akin hindi. Yung Google. I mean, try.net. Tayo magka-code. Ito lang muna. Ang hirap gamitin ng ano eh, visit eh. Pwede naman, okay. Teka lang. Hindi, mali pala. Wala ako pwede gawin to. Complicated to pala siya. Hindi ko pala pwede yung 2-player. Hindi ko pala ito magagamit. Ah? String result. Huwag din muna. Mahirap pala yan. Enter a number between 1 and 6. 1 and 6. No, random, just rotate. Paano yun? Case 1, you rolled A1. May vehicle na ito eh. Ano pinaka-basic? Password system na lang ulit. Tayo na gumana. Ha? Ayoko na ng VS Code, visit ka. Wait nga. Ayoko na sa'yo. Okay. Wala ko dyan. Bakit mali? Ha? Mali.
And then underneath here, we put in what happens. So
Tama na.
hello. And this arguments, we can give it a from the use write line again.
Tama naman.
What, of course, going to
Ay, wait. Ay, wait po. Akala ko Python ginagawa ako. Mali pala, akala ko Python yung ginagawa ko. My bad. Oh my god, akala ko Python.
cool thing about a switch
Walang ano, right line. Ganun. Pwede dito. My God. It is being used because it is being used by another. Ganun pa rin eh. Ah. Folder exists but tama na. Men, ang complicated ng IDE, sobra. Gusto yung magka-code ka na lang, hindi eh. I-check mo pa yung files eh. Oh my God. Like, ewan ko bakit. Magka.NET talaga ako, ang hirap nito sobra. Like, hindi siya madali. Magka.NET talaga ako. Grabe, ang hirap niyang i-run, ang hirap niyang i-set up. Ang hirap i-set up ni C# sobra, oh my God.
.NET Tips Part 5. Ever wanted to quickly check what a piece of C# code would return but you were too lazy to open your IDE and create a new console application just to check it out? Me too, but you no longer have to. C# REPL is a cross-platform command line tool that allows you to run C# directly in your terminal of choice. Simply install it globally using the .NET tool install command and voila! You can now run the C# REPL command anywhere and enter C# mode. Not only do you have full IntelliSense support with autocomplete and suggestions, but you can also install NuGet packages and try out something that isn't even in the BCL. You can go as far as running it against ASP.NET Core and running a full API directly in your console. Subscribe for
tamad.
In this tutorial, command which is the C# extensions.
If Visual Studio Code is so cool, why bother with Visual Studio 2022? When you install Visual Studio 2022, it configures everything you may need for a given project for you. It also has a bunch of extras that you can't get with VS Code. Alright, ready? Here we go.
It has an advanced debugger with time travel via IntelliTrace. It has performance tools for bottleneck fixes. It has built-in systems right out of the box.
Welcome back to my channel. In this tutorial, I will then click Windows operating system. So open it, new and studio, link your GitHub. Now click on the view or press Ctrl Shift P at the same time, and then at first install Visual Studio. So click
Turn on dev kit.
for the prompt. I'm going to show you how to install.
Labas po, gago. Pati na lang wala, okay. I don't know.
.NET SDK on Windows Operator .NET.Microsoft.com. So select the .NET
May .NET na ako, update ko na kagabi yun eh.
For downloading folder. So icon control Microsoft.NET, open command prompt and -- version. That's it. .NET SDK.
Baka lang .NET. SDK 9. Excuse me.
And it is so loads button. Now I am going to show browser. Now
That downloads. Sa kanya 10 na.
I am going to download.
9.0 din ako nagkatabi. 1 na eh, meron na ako ito eh.
Download it. Click on the new project.
22 hours ago. Oh, mayroon eh.
Visual initials. Now enter to confirm your create project.
Yung ginawa ko eh.
Right corner to this run button to run a project.
Ay, ganun ba yan? Oh, tangina, ganun pa rin eh. Ano ba yan? Oh? Find the task manager. Wala yan dito. Wala naman eh. Yung problem. Kailangan ko siya nakaano. Ah. Okay. Okay. Eh, tama. Password 1, 2, 3. Pag mali. Natin ulit. Ah, okay. Tama, tama, tama. Galing. Okay. Ano ginawa ko nung nakaraan? Yun lang naman yun. Okay. Hindi ko muna. Try to about it. Saan pa? Sige, calculator. Try natin yung calculator. Okay. Next ko na. Console. New project. Console. Up. Mali. Naku, ginawa niya naman dito. Saan na? Ano ba talaga siya gawin? Ganun. Hindi lumabas eh. Hindi nakagana yan. Gana pa rin siya. Tama naman. Paano X to Explorer? Ah. Paano ba?
Hello everyone. To close, simply go to your laptop where it says close folder. You can see it up here, and it is easy.
Hindi ko kasi close. Tanggal lang yan, ganun ang pala yan. Yes na ako. Folder. Pag dito. Oh, itong inong yan. Kailangan pala siya i-close. Oh my goodness. Brad. Try lang. Okay, okay. 32 ba yun? Nakalimutan ko na.
Story, where the user gets to the exciting. If you want to learn how to program, but in this video we're going to lay the foundation for pretty much a whole number. Number will start with a non-capital D 5 and semicolon type. I complete
To int ato. Wala na. Wala na eh. Iba na ata eh. Convert. Dot. Okay. Kailangan ko na yung convert. Convert dot something. Lagi may pula yung read line ko. Ano naman semicolon ah? Tagal niya ito. Good. Okay lang yan. Okay. Paano to ginagawa? Yan. Paano to? If. Okay. Alam ko na. Pwede naman switch. Switch tayo.
So far, we've only some num variable.
Case 1. May ganun kasi hindi ko na alam. If na lang naman. If. Hindi ko pwede i-convert to integer. Mali ito. Hindi ito pwede i-convert integer. Kailangan ko ba i-convert na integer? Hindi ah. Hindi ko kailangan i-convert. Meron bang extension? Nakikita yung ano. Hirap eh. Ang hirap malaman kung ano yung error ko eh. Tama naman, di ba? Gasok na lang ako. Hindi ko talaga mag-gets. Pwede ba yun?
And in the case that it's this, again a break. And now we can see it says default, default. And then again, going. So these comments are just for you and they won't be included when we read a line, it's of type. It's here to result onto this string. And if we run this now, we can use the plus here to add the result.
Teka lang. Ay, hindi pala naka-ano to.
Onto this string. And
Masig lang naman. If. Ay lang, ay. Kailangan pala nito. Kaya pala parang may kulang. Pa. nga pala. Console.WriteLine gives you string, not a number. Operator should be. Oh my god, sorry. Teka lang. Paano ko ginawa yung isa kagahapon? Ano pa? Oh, may switch na sana. Okay. It's, pwede ko ba siya lagyan ng spacing? Total. Total na lang, may red lines. Bakit yan? Excuse me. Palas na lang. Ganun. Ah. Well, that's a new thing. Total. Then, nalagyan mo ng ano, na total equals 0 something. But, Oh, mali ko. Anong mali? In total equals 0. Tama naman eh. Bakit itong total sa baba wala? Hindi ko na kailangan mag-assign ng integer kasi okay. Okay. Weird na. Assign mo to kasi nasa loob pala siya ng if statement. Paano else if? Ay, wait. Nasa loob pala siya. Sorry. Okay. 15 plus. Ay. Okay. Gulo pa rin eh. Weird na. Nested. Kasunod na siya ng nested. Ang hirap tignan. Oh, ba't 0 to? 25, 16. That's fine lang. Ah. Quotient. So mag-doubles ka na lang. Pinakamadaling conversion to yung mag-doubles. If you want real division with decimals, mahirap yun kasi integer yung total eh. Nag-work lang siya sa doubles. Alam ko hindi na ito gagana. Magkakaproblema na to kasi int tong mga to eh. Mas safe na, double na lang palagi ligay mo. Yun. Kasi decimals pala siya unlike sa Python, dali sa Python eh. Dire-diretso ka lang. May mga functions siya na pag readline. Kaya mo hindi siya string. Hindi siya automatic string. Kailangan pa sabihin string. Basta yun. Kailangan ng decimals. Else if. Pwede mo gawin switches. Ngayon ko bukas. Siguro. May nanggulo. Pwede na muna to for now. Ito yung simple calculator. Ano muna yan? Basta working. Yep, that's it.